ओम त्यागेश्वरम रामकृष्णम शारदाम मातृरूपिणीम विवेकानंदमाचार्यम नत्वा वक्ष्यामि शुद्धये योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च भैषजेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतंजलिं प्राञ्जलिरनान्तोऽस्मि. In our last class, we discussed Vyasa's definition of yoga, how he widens the definition given by Patanjali. Patanjali just says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is restraining of the modifications of the chitta. And we have seen what chitta is and what these modifications are. Every experience, behind every experience is a modification of the mental stuff, of the chitta, of the antahkarana. There is no experience possible without this modification. And Patanjali says it is the restraint of these modifications. This was a bit restrictive definition because in this restraint there is no modification, and all the processes which lead to this stage, they, so to say, fall out of the gambit of this definition. So this definition needed a bit of fine-tuning. So Vyasa, the commentator, he gives a bit broader definition, which we discussed in our last class, Yoga Samadhi. Yoga is concentration. This includes the state of complete restraint also. That's also a state of concentration. So Vyasa makes this definition more comprehensive by saying yoga is concentration. The problem in this definition is it becomes too wide, because we discussed Vyasa defines minds, human minds, into 5 types. One is completely scattered. It just goes from one object to another. Mind of the worldly persons. Then there is mudha, that is stupefied. It's unable, it doesn't have the energy to even travel from one object to another. It's stupefied mind. And then there is a distracted mind of the sadhakas, which is sometimes concentrated but again distracted at other times. Then there is ekagra, concentrated mind, and then there is niruddha, that is restrained mind. And it says concentration is possible in all the states. The ekagra and niruddha, of course, concentration is there, but according to Vyasa, concentration is possible even in a scattered mind. And we see that person, skilled laborers, so to say, skilled workers, they are very much concentrated doing a particular job in which they are skilled, but after that there is no concentration. And sometimes people who are extremely hateful or attached, they also will have concentration towards the object of their hatred or the object of attachment. But Vyasa says that cannot be termed as yoga. Yoga is concentration, no doubt, but concentration that happens in these first 3 stages that he had mentioned, that cannot be termed as yoga. So even the concentration that the sadhakas have, our mind he calls as vikshipta, distracted. Sometimes it is concentrated and other times it is distracted. Even this concentration cannot be actually called as yoga. No doubt it is a state, it is a stage towards it. But the definition, it falls out of the purview of this definition of yoga. It's only the concentration that happens in ekagra chitta, concentrated mind, which reveals sadbhutam artham pradyota. It reveals the real nature of the object. The object on which this concentration happens will reveal its secrets. And then kshinoti cha kleshan, it will attenuate the drives. Now that is the touchstone, so to say, by which we can know whether a concentration is yoga or not. The concentration should attenuate, should weaken our emotional drives, our attachments, our hatreds, our urges. All these should be weakened, attenuated by concentration. Karma bandhanani shlate, it will loosen the bonds of karma, and nirodham abhimukham karoti. It should facilitate the aspirant to enter the realm of complete cessation. That concentration alone, Patanjali calls as Samprajñata Yoga. So he has given another term called Samprajñata Yoga. It is a concentration on a single object. So here all the other vrittis are restrained. So Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, it is here, but not completely all except one, which is the object of concentration. So that becomes the Samprajñata Yoga. So that mind has restrained all the vrittis except one, which is the object of its concentration. And it has reached the state of Samprajñata Yoga, and then after that, due to extreme renunciation, on the strength of extreme renunciation, even that single vritti is also restrained, and then that mind enters into state of what Patanjali calls Asamprajñata Yoga, and Vyasa also calls it Asamprajñata Yoga, where only samskaras remain, and finally it will lead to Kaivalya. So that was the state. The point to note is the concentration of the worldly minded is not yoga. Concentration meant for getting health benefits or wealth or name, fame, whatever you call it, that is not yoga. Only that concentration which aims at getting into asamprajñata state, that is the aim. And it should weaken, attenuate the kleshas. No, that means that viveka is there in that mind which is concentrating. Then only this attenuation of kleshas, of the drives can happen. So that's what we had discussed in our last class. But now we see there are so many vrittis in our mind. This concept of vritti we have discussed earlier. And behind every experience we have is a vritti. If I think I am happy, there is a vritti behind it. A vritti is causing this experience. If I feel I am miserable, there is a vritti. I experience, I am seeing a table, there is a vritti. I see such and such a person, there is a vritti. Our whole life and the way he defines vrittis, our entire life is a series of vrittis. And there are innumerable. What concentration does, or what we are trying to do in concentration, is control some of these vrittis and retain some. That is what the first step is. If we just close our eyes and see what kind of thing is happening in our mind, we will find that every moment a new vritti pertaining to a different object is arising. When we sit for meditation, initial stages, the vritti comes which gives us knowledge of the Ishtadevata. Second moment, another vritti comes. It doesn't pertain to the Ishtadevata, it pertains to something else. Third moment, another thing. Fourth moment, fourth object. The mind is hopping from one object to another, which means every vritti is different from the preceding one. Vrittis, if we think them as waves, as discussed by Swamiji, each wave is different from the preceding one. They are vijatiya. Each wave is different from the preceding one. That is the state of the normal human beings. Every moment, different thoughts are coming. And in concentration, what we are trying to do is, we are trying to raise sajatiya vrittis. Each succeeding wave is similar to the preceding wave. So each succeeding wave is similar to the preceding wave, which means the knowledge, the experience that we are getting is constant. And that's what we try to do in meditation. We try to raise or generate or hold or ensure that each succeeding wave is similar to the preceding one. So the knowledge we get remains constant. That's what meditation is about. Now these vrittis are so many, and we have to restrain them, control them. That's why the next sutra talks about these vrittis in detail. Vrittiyaha panchatayaha klishta klishtaha. That is the sutra of Patanjali. Vrittiyaha, these vrittis, are panchatayya, that is panchadha of 5 kinds. So all the innumerable vrittis that we have, innumerable vrittis that we have, Patanjali classifies them into 5 categories, so to say. All the vrittis can be classified in 5 categories. Panchatayya, panchadha vrittaya. And then again, in 2 broader categories, klishta, klishtaha, aklishtaha. These are the 2 new words we come to know. Klishta vrittis and aklishta vrittis. There is another way of dividing the vrittis. They can be divided in 5 categories, which he will tell in the next sutra, or they can be divided as klishta or aklishta. What is this klishta and aklishta? These words are from a word called klesha. Those who are related, such vrittis that are related to klesha are klishta, and which are unrelated to klesha or opposite to klesha are called aklishta. Klishta, aklishta. Associated with klesha are klishta, and dissociated or against klesha are aklishta. What is a klesha? The klesha, technically in this Patanjali's system, it is a technical term, and it has a specific meaning, which we'll see in our in the next chapter. It will come. Avidya, smita, ragadvesha, abhiniveshaha, kleshaha. He defines there are 5 kleshas. These are translated as afflictions. There are 5 afflictions, starting with ignorance. But in this context also, in the context of klishta vrittis, that meaning can be applied. But a simpler and more pertinent meaning for this klesha would be just suffering. In this context, would be suffering. So such vrittis which lead to suffering are called klishta vrittis. Such vrittis, klesha hetukaha. Such vrittis which lead us to klesha, which lead us to suffering in their final analysis, so to say, they are called klishta vrittis. And such vrittis which take us away from suffering to eternal happiness, so to say, they are called aklishta vrittis. So all the vrittis that we have can be divided in these 2 categories, klishta, aklishta. Those which lead us towards klesha, that is suffering, are klishta vrittis. Those which lead us away from kleshas towards our real nature, those are aklishta vrittis. He gives this division. What exactly it means and how certain vrittis lead to suffering, he gives the definition also. Klesha hetukaha, karmashaya prachaya kshetri bhutaha. So it needs some explanation. These are, we can, with an example we can give. We see a flower, someone sees a flower, it's a beautiful flower. That person, now if you look at it very analytically, there is just a perception of flower. That's what knowledge is, only that, a flower. But then emotions get attached to it, to that perception. Our emotions, they just don't float in the air. They always get attached to some object. So the person sees a flower and the emotion gets attached. That person likes that, falls for it, and says, I want this, I want to possess this. As I said, emotions do not float in the sky. They always attach to some object. So now a person has seen the flower, that was just a perception. But then emotions got attached to it, liking, falling for it, then a desire for it, I want it. Now it is in a garden which doesn't belong to him or her, so either he or she has to steal it or beg someone and do some favor to someone and get it, whatever. But the point is, he or she has to act to get that. While acting, karmashaya praja kshetri bhuta. That act generates dharma dharma. If that person steals it, it is a papa. or if it bribes someone, that's a papa. Or if it doesn't do anything, then also misery is there. That regret will be there, I don't have it, I want it. And if that person works, that will lead to some papa punya, some action, that action's residue will be there, for which will lead to again further experiences of happiness and misery. Basically, this empirical existence will continue, because to experience that punya papa, the birth has to be there, everything has to be there. So that one cognition, one knowledge of a flower, it became kind of a field, kshetra, for action and the results of action. Now this vritti, which got colored with attachment and liking and desire, this is a klishta vritti. See, the knowledge did not come from the sky, it didn't fall from the sky. It was a result of a modification of the chitta. It was a chitta vritti. The perception of flower was a chitta vritti. It was called chitta vritti, was so of desire, wanting. And that led to action, that led to results, that led to janma again and again and again. So this perception or this chitta vritti, which leads to misery in its final unfolding, so to say, is a klishta vritti. This is a mental modification leading to misery. This is just an example. We experience this in our day-to-day life. But there is another person who sees that flower. He or she also sees it. It's beautiful. But then the thought comes, another emotion gets attached to that very chitta vritti which gave rise to the cognition of that flower, that this is God's creation. If the creation is so wonderful, how wonderful would be God? Or the nature is worshipping God through this flower. A healthy, elevating, going away from the pain, that kind of emotion gets attached to that chitta vritti. And then that chitta vritti becomes a klishta vritti. So vritti in its pure form is same. It is just a cognition. The chitta takes the form of the flower and it is revealed. But then it becomes klishta or aklishta, depending on what kind of emotions get attached to it. So klishta, aklishta, these are the two. It's something like Sri Ramakrishna says, vidya maya and avidya maya. Something like that. And what we have to do, we have to counter these klishta vrittis through aklishta vrittis. By repeated practice, we have to counter the klishta vrittis, we have to restrain the klishta vrittis and increase the aklishta vrittis. And when we have got only aklishta vrittis, then we have to stop those also and enter the asamprajnata. I say this because Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of vidya maya, avidya maya and two thorns. So you need one thorn to remove another. And when you have removed the other, you don't keep both the thorns, or you don't even keep the thorn with which you removed the other one. You throw away that also. So even these aklishta vrittis, so to say godly vrittis, which lead us Godward, which lead us to our own real nature, with these we counter the klishta vrittis and then we give up both of them. That is the process. Now the question comes, How can we control what emotions get attached to our experiences? Now that's a very crucial question and very pertinent one. I see something and there is an irresistible urge to act in a certain way. I see the flower and I must possess it in spite of myself. I have to possess it. What to do? Then that becomes a character type. That person is angry. That kind of, we start labeling because the whole character has become like that. Vyasa, he deliberates on this particular point in just 2-3 sentences. Tatha jatiyakaha samskaraha vrittibhi kriyante. Samskaraischa vrittayaha. Evam samskara vritti chakram anisham avartate. Just 2-3 sentences. Our condition of our present mind and character, so to say, he has described. Tatha jatiyakaha samskaraha vrittibhi kriyante. The mental modifications, the modifications of the chitta, these generate samskaras similar to them. Retain that desire of seeking for that. Samskaraischa vrittayaha. When again I see the flower, that samskara, it is going to generate a vritti, where I am going to feel that urge to possess that flower. So the first time when I saw the flower, the urge came to possess it. From where did it come? And that is how different people have different reactions to the same perception. We see it in life. Somebody is suffering, some people just neglect it, some people want to take photos, some people want to help. Why are different reactions coming for the same perception? Because samskara ischa vrittaya. Samskara, today they are coming back to us as vrittis when the same situation arises. Evam samskara vritti chakram anisham avartate. This is the story of our life, so to say. Vritti is leading to samskara, samskara is leading to vrittis. It's an endless cycle. Certain situations, our own samskaras, they force us to react in certain ways. We do react, and that reaction of ours, that just goes and strengthens that particular samskara. And again, when the situation comes, the same samskara throws the same kind of reaction. This is a cycle which just keeps going on and on and on. So, what if I want to change it? If I get healthy ideas, healthy emotions, after seeing something, after hearing something, it is fine. I am good with it. But what if I want to change the way I react? If I want to change the way I feel when I see something? What I feel now when I see something, that is the result of the samskaras, which I myself have created. I am aware of it. No one is responsible for how I feel when I see something, when I hear something, when I experience something. I have created those samskaras. I have felt that way earlier, and today that samskara is coming back and creating the same kind of feeling. But what if that feeling is unhealthy? What if that drive is unhealthy? What if I want to change it? Do I have an option? Or am I just a puppet in the hands of in the hands of this cycle of vrittis and samskaras? The impressions and modifications, one feeding on each other, one strengthening the other. Am I just a puppet? That becomes the question. And that's why Swamiji says, you are the maker of your own destiny. We have created it. We alone have the power to undo it. If we have created something, we have the power to undo it. And for that we have to generate vrittis again, counter vrittis, which will form samskaras, which will check these samskaras. In the next class we shall see. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.